Why did you hack Silent Clubstep?
Oh man, it's actually kind of just luck that I ended up looking into him in the first place. In hindsight, it's like, okay, wow, we should have noticed this sooner. I got his ass a couple of years ago for cheating VSC. And I think that made him feel a kind of way, you know? I think Doggy should buff Grief.
Oh, when do you think Flame Wall will be placed?
It's gonna place on October.
Ooh.
But like, it doesn't really matter.
Is there any corruption in the demon list? For example,
Let me think about that for a sec. The human limit, if I had to put it in terms of levels, is hey, I'm Paqoe. I verified Silent Clubstep. I'm the leader of the demon list, and you might know me for a lot of other stuff, like exposing Space UK or beating hard levels.
Sweet. And first question we ask everybody, are you mentally healthy?
That's something I think I have a long history with in general, but I think I'm at a pretty good spot with that right now, all things considered. Uh, I'm liking my job. I'm, not super like I'm a bit less online and stuff now, which is super cool. And generally speaking, I think I'm doing all right, you know?
That is fantastic to hear. And obviously, the internet is an archive, so I also did say it's so weird. In our little interview me and Vix did, I said no to being mentally healthy, and then I also got interviewed by someone else said no, and now I say yes. Like
Yeah, shit can change.
it's so crazy how stuff can change. Like even just that quick as well. But I'm happy for you.
Oh, thank you.
And let's just get the heavy hitter out of the way.
All right.
Why did you hack Silent Clubstep?
Oh man, I was just insecure and I just wanted validation. Um, but yeah, I didn't hack SoundCloud Step. Um, I actually like no lifed the shit out of it for a couple of weeks or a couple months actually.
Oh
Um,
man.
Not my proudest moment, but the reason why I beat it was because I spent many hours a day playing it, and I got to the drop like 300 something times. I actually have like a log of all of the attempts where I ever got to the drop, and it is like very long and spans many hours. But yeah, I am legitimate. I have not hacked anything that like is on my channel or anything like that. Um, yeah.
Yeah, that was a lot. Probably about 700 questions in all in one.
Yeah. Just get half them out of the way.
Yeah. And I actually added this onto it because obviously you didn't hack it. So the actual question is like what actually got you to like decide that you want to go for Silent Clubstep?
Um, so this was like August of 2021, so like over 4 years ago at this point. And I was just like sitting in class and I was like, you know what? I should like get home and see how fast I can make progress on Silent Club Step. So like within like 2 sessions for some reason, I was able to get to like 12% or something like that. And I was like, okay, I'm abnormally good at this pre-drop. So I kept playing it, and after like 3 or 4 days, I got to the drop. And it's like, oh my God, this was, it was completely out of nowhere. Like I got really lucky and stuff like that. But I was like, okay, I'm not gonna do it right now, but I'm gonna like put a pin in this and, really strongly consider um actually going for the level because I had played the drop, like especially the first ship and then the duel at 65. Those parts
Yeah.
kicked my ass. Um, and I legitimately like felt unhappy whenever I would watch the duel because of how like much I struggled with that part specifically. So eventually, this is like around April of 2022. At this point, Vision has 65%, which is a fluke from I think like 31 or something like that.
Damn.
And it's just me and him with progress. Actually, that's not true. I think Trick and Diamond also had progress, and maybe Parker. But I came back to it and very quickly I was able to like, start making progress and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, I should actually commit to this. So if you know who Blitzer is, she made me a sick ass thumbnail for the level. And I was like, okay, I can't let this thumbnail go to waste. This thumbnail is too fucking cool. So I, worked my ass off on it. streamed a few times, contrary to popular belief. Um, and, you know, kept banging my head against the wall that was like 65%. And eventually, I actually got kind of lucky. I only died twice at 72. And then that was it for Deaths Past the Duel. And eventually I ended up beating it.
Damn. Yeah, that I do want to point out that that thumbnail is really cool, by the way.
Yeah. And there's a misconception that like I sniped the level for Vision from Visioner or something like that. And I do just want to take a second to clear that up. Hyperbola was the other guy with progress at that point,
Hmm.
and I had asked him before going for the level if he was cool with me like actually trying it out and stuff like that, and he was like, "Yeah, go for it." And then Vision at that point actually had less progress than me or Hyperbola. It wasn't until like that 8 month or so period of inactivity with the level where he started to like actually make headway with it.
Mm.
It's just that his progress was like it hit the community a lot more than mine did.
Ah. Yeah, I was definitely one of those people where it was like Vision was robbed. Ah. Like pitchfork and torch in hand.
Yeah, I mean, like, and I understand that. I think that there's definitely something to be said for wanting the person who's like spent more time and, appears to have more passion about the level.
Yeah.
Them being able to verify it is definitely good. But, I really cared about that level. And I, worked my ass off to try and be the one to beat it, and I had progress for like a year before I ended up beating it. And another
Mm.
reason why I picked Silent Club Step specifically is because it's not really in the community perception anymore, but there was a difficult challenge on the challenge list called Final Destination.
Yeah.
Um, which I verified in 2020, about 2 years before I beat Silent Club Step, so a year before I started making progress. So I felt like it was kind of fitting in a way if I actually, started to play the level and followed through with it.
Hmm. Yeah, isn't if I'm not wrong, Final Destination is an iced cape challenge?
Yeah, it is the unnerved 8 jumps of hell, like copy pasted twice in a row.
Yeah.
And like I think I raced that with somebody else as well. And I ended up beating it because I got like a little bit lucky with it. And yeah, that was actually like the first completion I had that really became like that really like put me on the map in any capacity.
Hmm. Okay. And I actually talked about this I think to Enswish and Vortrox,
Mhm.
and I want to get your opinion on it. But do you think we should have actually let the unnerfed version get verified?
Um, See, I didn't really have any say in that version being made, the nerfed version. It came
Mm-hmm.
to be about a year before I picked up the level originally, and I had no like involvement in that. So I guess I'm kind of unbiased with it. I think it probably would have been a good thing overall if the nerfed version never existed, just because now it kind of puts the unnerfed version in this weird spot where like it might. I don't know if the community is going to see it as like the real version of Silent Club Step or like something kind of more like unnerfed Sakupin, where there's the Sakupin circles on the demon list, and then there's like this other version that people can play. Um, and I don't know which version, if the unnerved or whenever the unnerved ends up getting verified, I'm not sure which one the community is going to respect more, as like the titular version of Silent Club Step. But I think it would have been better if that was never really a debate that had to be had in the first place. Um, but also, I think there's something to be said for especially over the past few years as 2.2 has become like the thing that everybody uses because like nobody really uses 2.1 anymore.
Yeah.
I think there's something to be said for the way that it kind of fucks up the difficulty of one of the parts, that being 8 jumps of hell.
Mm-hmm.
There's really no good way to fix that part right now, unfortunately. And I think that it kind of puts anybody who's interested in verifying the unnerfed version in a really weird spot where they kind of have to pick between like a couple different weird ways that you can nerf it, or you can switch to 2.1 and use that instead. Um, but I think that kind of feels like applying reasoning that did not exist at the time. So I'm just going to say yes. I think it probably should have just been the unnerfed version and nothing else.
Hmm. Yeah. Yo, I would love to see someone go back and like, when was it created? Like 1.6?
I think it's like I think it was made in 1.8 and released in 1.9, which would have made
Oh.
it like I think near the end of 2014.
Okay. Oh, that's because yeah, Silent Club was the one that was made in April.
Mhm.
So Club Step, yeah, Club Step was made a lot later. Yeah, I would love someone should go like back in the old physics where it was made and try to beat it on that.
I see the thing is that it's like really hard.
Yeah.
And I don't know that people would be willing to like do that kind of, you know?
There's definitely at least one person. I've seen some people invest time into a lot of stuff.
Yeah, and I do want to give a counter argument that I think applies a bit more to Soucoup and Circles than Silent Club Step, but it's something that I kind of thought about the last when Under Soucoup and Circles got verified, which is that I think there's like something to be said for adapting the experience of the level um, in such a way that more people give it a try than they otherwise would. And I don't think that
Mm.
really justifies it or makes it like an outright good thing, but I do think it's a positive that comes out of these nerfs. Like I think unnerfed Sakupin Circles, if the nerfed version never got verified, would have been a lot less popular and a lot more despised than Sakupin Circles currently is, which has like I think over 100 victors on the list.
Dang.
So in terms of actually getting people to like spend time with the level and like, you know, make that part of their career, I think there's something to be said for sort of smoothing out edges like that. Um, but as I said, I don't think that actually justifies it. I more just think it's an interesting uh, angle which people don't really talk about very much.
Hmm. Yeah, usually I see people only kind of ever bring up like it getting robbed on the demon list and stuff. Like that's like the only argument I ever see for stuff like this.
For Sakupin or Silent Club stuff.
Both. Cause and that's why I like the unrated demon list as well. Like, that's
Yeah.
really nice.
I mean, I think Silent Club is. Do you have a question about Silent Club stuff getting robbed?
Yep.
Okay. Do you want to segue into that?
No, we can.
All right.
Uh,
Um,
sorry.
yeah,
What
go
are you
ahead
doing?
and
Oh, okay.
I want to hear your wording for it.
Okay. Ooh. So I don't think I asked anything specifically about it getting robbed, but I did say, I typed it down as, do you personally think Silent Clubstep in hindsight was actually top one until Tidal Wave?
Um, I don't think so. I think there's probably around a 10 or 15% chance that it would have been top one until Tidal Wave. Um, but I'm skeptical of that fact actually applying.
Mm.
Um, I think based off of how people talked about the two levels, I think there's a chance that if Acheron didn't have like a specific experience that certain people who played the level were like set up with, I think that it probably would have not been seen so infamously when it comes to like actually finishing off the level and stuff like that. Um, which I think is sort of like an under-discussed point in a lot of levels and their stigma.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think that if that had been a little bit different, it's very possible that Silent Club Step could have uh, beaten out Acheron a tiny bit in the long run, just if things had gone a little bit differently. But I think that the majority of the time, if we, went back in time and we saw where the levels ended up placing, I think that Acheron would have ended up above Silent Club Step the majority of the time. And I think the fact that 2.2 makes Acheron easier doesn't really say anything about how hard the levels were originally. And personally, I think the whole thing about 2.2 making Silent Club Step harder is not super true. It makes a lot of the mirror portal transitions easier. It obviously makes the ship a lot easier.
Yeah.
And from my experience, I didn't think that the eight jumps, because I've tried it a little bit, I didn't think that they were that much harder than they were originally. Um, so yeah, I do think that it was definitely top one before Acheron, so it had about a month where I think it was the hardest level in the game. But when Acheron came out, I think that time got cut pr short pretty quickly.
Mm. Okay. And this somehow already. I guess I'll ask the final Silent Club Step oriented question. Because there weren't really that many that people were asking about either, other than obviously, did you hack it?
Mhm.
um. So, one of my buddies, you might know him, Skittle Catastrophe.
I'm not familiar.
Um, he is going for Silent Club Step 2, and he actually has good progress on it. Have you ever thought about trying it?
Um, I haven't. Um, if I were to verify something harder or like as difficult as Silent Club Step, I think I'd pick something that feels a bit more like it has its own identity. And don't get me wrong, I think Silent Club Step 2 is really cool. I think the whole Matrix thing with like the red and the blue pill at the end is like super interesting.
Yeah,
And like it's the exact type of shit that makes Silent Club Step appealing. It's just the fact that it sort of exists in the shadow of the main level, that makes me not really super interested in uh going for it like that. Um, I think, I verified Element 111 RG about a year and a half ago. And, I think that was a good choice because that's not something that's, really related to Silent Club Step. But also, it kind of cemented me as like somebody who verifies these old impossible levels,
yeah,
which isn't really something I wanted to like pigeonhole myself with. Um, when I was a bit more like aspirational with the game. So I don't think I ever really would have ended up going for Silent Club Step 2. Just like in general, it just doesn't really appeal a ton to me. But, you know, best of luck to him because that level looks really fucking hard and I'd like to see it verified.
yeah. It's in a really weird place with like the ILL and stuff. Like, I will say, I did a practice run of it, and I only about 1,000 attempts. But like I tried tidal wave, I tried flame wall. I'm reaching like 3-5,000 attempt practice runs, and then there's people like there's a lot of people claiming it's like harder than tidal wave for some reason, and I don't think so. Only because we are such a wave carried, like the game mode we are carried by is wave in this community as a whole.
Yeah, totally.
So, but and you brought up Element 111 RG. I'm glad you did,
Mhm.
so I can pan to a question I actually was. I've been very curious about this even
Yeah.
before starting Seeker Way. Um, like, are you going to still try and verify it without CBF?
Man, if I was gonna do that, I would have done it already. Uh, if I really sat down and I was like, okay, I'm gonna get this level out without CBF, it'd probably take me about a week. Um, I'm more than good enough to actually commit myself to it.
Yeah.
But the way that I saw it shortly after verifying CBF is that I was sort of hedging by including a disclaimer about it in the first place. Um, Mostly just because I didn't want people to immediately like get really mad because CBF was 3 or 4 days old at that point. Um, but there was a big part of me that was like, okay, if I re-verify it without CBF, I think that sort of validates the notion that it's cheating, which I don't necessarily want to feed into. Also, level fucking sucks. It's really bad. There's a click at like 1% that's a 240 frame perfect that is, really horrible. There are some really bad jumps sort of scattered throughout the first 30 whatever percent. The ship at 38, I think, is really, really hard. And then there's like some bullshit after that as well. And I just didn't want to deal with that. I realized, you know what? This is like, at this point, I'm just, if I go back and I beat it without CBF, I'm just doing it to like appease people. I don't really give that much of a shit about beating it with or without CBF personally, and I don't want to just throw a week away like that, you know?
Yeah, it's understandable. I figured the the kind of unanswered answer was just all the drama.
Yeah,
And
I kind of, if CBF had been around for like half a year at that point, you know, when the community was starting to get more used to it, I would not have put the disclaimer. Um, but yeah, I'm just very not interested in going back and doing that, I'll be honest.
yeah, I wouldn't either. And it's funny cuz like Element 101 energy is not going to be the only level experiencing that drama. Oh my god. Grief. The
Yeah,
whole
and we actually, the demon list, you know, we have some ideas of how to deal with that, that are pretty close
yes.
to actually happening.
Oh.
Yeah. Do you want me to segue into that a little bit?
Um I guess yeah, one of the
Yeah,
questions
so
was like if there's anything going on.
oh yeah, so there is. We've actually been working on that over the past week, getting stuff specifically set up for the like initial set of levels that we're thinking about nominating for this. But it's, you know, it's something that we've talked about for years, like just in general in the community about, you know, adding on rated levels to the list. And I think that with CBF being a thing, now is probably the time to do that. So, in the next few months, there's going to be a new tab on the demon list, which is dedicated to mostly levels that have been verified with CBF, but also unrated levels as well that we think that
Mm.
Rob has in some way, shape, or form like missed unfairly. Um, so the way that it's probably going to work, and you know, the details are obviously subject to change, is that we as the list team are going to nominate specific levels, which we believe have the capacity to be placed on the new tab. And we will pass those levels over to a separate group of people who we've already decided on, who are going to vote, okay, should this level be added to the list or not? And the idea with this isn't really to make the standards lower or anything like that. And in fact, my personal belief is that we should avoid making standards low as much as possible because we want people to like actually be interested in using and like actually trust the decisions of the levels that get placed on this new tab.
Yeah.
Um, so, you know, standards will be pretty high. The main point of it, I think, is kind of to just make it so that verifications and stuff in the top 10 so that people don't really feel compelled to like add CBF blockers and, you know, feel like they can, you know, I think it'll sort of stimulate top play a little bit more. Um, you know, I think it'll have some good effects overall and sort of take the balance off of how things work right now. Because the way that it works right now is that Rob specifically is like, I'm not going to rate anything that uses CBF for the verification, which means that if you are a creator and you want your, you know, level to actually get rated and get recognized if it's hard,
Yeah.
then you have to compromise that, and your verifier cannot use CBF. And if the verifier can't use CBF, that means that they have to make the choice, okay, do I want other people to be able to use CBF and make this unnecessarily hard for myself compared to everybody else? Or do I want to change how the level works to either make CBF not work or make CBF as hard or harder than beating it in vanilla and put everybody on the same level? And the thing is that the first one sucks, and the second one nobody else wants to deal with because nobody likes playing levels with CBF blockers.
Oh yeah.
So we will have a system out in the next few months, depending on, you know, how the community receives it and how it's used within the first couple months of its release, which, you know, aims to sort of include everything that the Demon List currently has, plus the capacity for us to do stuff outside of Rob's control, and which I think will overall be healthy for the game and its um, you know, the state of top play.
Well, that's that's quite interesting. I'm actually really excited to see that. And I know like one a talking point that I got told by a friend a while ago as to why it's bad is because of like the accessibility of CBF and all that. And like what if a level gets put on there that doesn't deserve to get uh rated, or it just pushes more levels out of the demon list. And I I kind of realized like because I'm a unrated demon list connoisseur. I don't know, I really like the unrated
Mhm.
demon list and the idea of it. There's not a whole lot of levels on there that actually would get rated. Like I can think of
I completely agree.
Quantus and
I think
Centipede.
there are like I've actually looked through that list to help with the initial set of nominations.
Yeah.
And there are maybe 10 to 15 levels which I think could actually get rated if every good unrated level got rated.
Yeah.
Um, I think that people overestimated a lot, and I think that there might be something where like people watch these unrated levels, they watch like a showcase on like full detail or something like that, and then they go look at levels on the list with like a low detail mode or something, and they go, "Oh, this full detail one looks better than that one." When the reality is that most of them just kind of look like shit. Um, and that's, no judgment there. I am not much of a creator myself, but I think that the rate system is a lot better at rating stuff than people give it credit for when it comes to hard levels. Even if it does take a little while for things to balance out eventually. Um, but like, yeah, we will be very conservative with the amount of levels that we add to the list. Um, because we don't want to make things harder for for players. We don't want to make the list move even faster than it already does. Um, we just want an opportunity to focus more on the harder levels. And in focusing for the harder levels, we kind of have to accommodate a little bit with easier stuff as well, as
Yeah.
far as adding them goes.
Yeah.
So I'm really not that concerned about that. I think I trust the people who are helping me with that project to make sure that the way that criteria and standards are applied is, reasonable and fair. And results in because the main thing I think is that we need to make it so that the community has faith in the subjective process of these levels getting added. If they think we're just going to add random bullshit, then
Smoke
nobody's going to want to
circles.
spend their exactly. Then nobody's going to want to spend their time with this tab because everything is really unstable and it's possible and we're just going to clutter it up with stuff that people aren't really interested in, and like placements would get worse and it would have a bunch of negative effects which I think we can avoid as long as we err more on the side of caution when it comes to placing stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it's a good way to go about it cuz I honestly can only name two off the top of my head that might get on there, and that's Quantus and Centipede.
Really? You think
Yeah.
those two?
Well, Centipede at least.
Interesting.
Centipede, I feel like Centipede's a good level. I think.
That's
I'm.
crazy.
Uh.
That's see, this is the beauty. It's all so subjective.
Yeah, it is very subjective, and I think I think that's really good how it's a whole team behind that tab as well, because
Mhm.
uh, I take it you're not the biggest fan of Centipede, or
I am not the biggest fan of Centipede,
yeah,
which is fine.
yeah,
Everybody's entitled to their own beliefs.
yeah, exactly. Opinions
Um,
are awesome.
yeah, opinions are awesome. Everything is subjective, and that's the other thing. People are going to be unhappy about decisions that we make with this tab. And one idea that I had was to give some sort of justification for why we feel a level is good or bad with respect to placing it on like the new tab.
Yeah,
Um, I think that that might be good just for giving more transparency in, what we are looking for and, the type of levels that we, you know, think the community would be happiest with overall. Um, but yeah, people are going to be upset about it, but people are going to be upset about everything.
That
And
is
I think
true.
people are already kind of upset that this is an issue that we have to deal with in the first place, like in that we have to wait for Rob to, rate stuff.
Hmm.
So I think we're all kind of interested in, moving past that.
Everybody, just be upset at Rob Top.
Exactly.
But yeah, no, I like it. It's really ridiculous how there's gonna be like it's gonna create like a wave of people like put this level on. Like I know people are gonna be like unnerve Sockman circles. I'm gonna be one of the people. Map of problematic.
Yeah. I mean, I could give you a list of levels which I think would probably um, which I would personally want to see, but this doesn't mean that
Mm,
it's actually going to go that way.
yeah.
I think Catacombs, like the
Oh.
level that Slithia verified with
Yeah.
CBF, it's verified with CBF. I think it's kind of like the titular thing to, first add.
Yeah.
Infinite Chaos. I'm kind of just surprised that level isn't like featured already.
Hmm.
I think Silent Locked would be good.
That's a
I
good
think
one.
Based After Based would be good.
That's also a really good one.
The Brittany No Sclears one, I think that's good. Um, and a couple others as well. But those are Gale Force, I think, is good. Uh, Stellar Knight, I think that all of
Mm.
these levels, those are ones that I could see getting added on pretty quickly personally. But, I'm one person and I'm not, my opinion is not representative of what other people think.
And that's good.
But yeah.
It's good that um from an outsider it seems like you have more power than most, but you're like that it's all a team effort.
Yeah. I think as for people who are like on the list team, I've been a bit less active recently, but historically I'm definitely the most influential, I think.
Oh yeah.
Um, but I'm also I think I'm I think I'm very picky on the list team with what I specifically support and don't support, which means that, the majority of the things that I say we should do are things that I think are like safe for us to do and like generally speaking aren't really super controversial once you hear the reasoning for them. So I think that that kind of gives me a bit more inflated, like I guess, influence than I otherwise would have. I don't really push for anything super crazy. I don't really, I try my best to not really misuse the fact that like I'm good at swaying people like that.
Yeah.
I just, try my best to do the things that I think the community overall would want the most in the long run.
Well, that's good. And it's actually pretty good pan to this question. Is there a rule you wish you could add to the demon list?
I'm not really sure. I can't really think of anything that would be particularly interesting or like major. Like I can think of some little things, but like nothing that's like super, crazy or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I'm overall pretty happy with the state of like the rules for the demon list as they are right now. Um, and 'cause, a big part of it is that like if I think something should happen, I can just kind of be like, hey guys, let's start a discussion about this, and I want to hear you guys' perspective. So things that I want to have happen, like have the opportunity to happen, just because I think the demon list is so good at like not so good, but I think the demon list is reasonably good at correcting course with bad things that we did in the past that, that there are better ways of doing. And I think in the past, there have been some pretty major rule changes that I specifically have pushed for that I think would have been a much better response. But right now, I'm pretty happy with the state of things, other than like I guess, I want the new tab to happen and I want people to actually want to use it.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, other than that, there's really not that much.
Okay. And Okay, so usually with this next question, I kind of ask it early on, but I kind of wanted to ask you a few other questions first. But this is also a tradition. What is your brutally honest opinion on Secret Way? And you can break my heart.
Um, okay, so I'm not like, I've skimmed a couple of the interviews before.
Yeah.
Um, I'm familiar with the fact that you guys do like YouTube shorts and things like that. I think that I like the way that you guys do things. I think that you guys fill a niche that otherwise doesn't really exist in the GD community right now. That being, you make very, I think, heavily optimized content that to me at least appears to have some substance to it. And you're willing to act like it seems like you're treating GD like it has the potential to, be a big um not source of revenue, but like that there's a lot to be done in terms of YouTube stuff for the what's it called? Community. Like I know you guys started like a new channel or something like that. The GD Explained one.
Oh
And I think
yeah.
that that's an interesting idea, you know? I think it does a good job of putting GD like in the algorithm. And giving I think there's a lot of potential with that format. Oh God, there's a very loud car.
Mm.
Um, I think the interviews are cool. I personally like them. I think it gives a good opportunity for people to sort of, better understand people who they would otherwise not really have the uh opportunity to know much about because I think the people in the GD community aren't super like they don't really wear their personality on their sleeves all that much. Um,
Yeah.
and that's not a good thing, it's not a bad thing, but I think that the content that you make right now serves a valuable purpose in letting people get a gauge on, these people.
Yeah.
So
Mm.
yeah, overall I'm a fan.
I appreciate that. And I will point out um we have three channels, obviously GD Explained, Secret Way, and Secret Way 2. The second I do want to say the second channel is probably the only one that's like 100% just about trying to make some extra money. Like
Let me look that up on YouTube. Secret Way 2.
I think it's literally just Secret Way 2. It's also
Yeah, it is
connected.
Secret Way 2.
Yeah. It's literally just
Um,
like posting the clips and like getting an
mm,
extra little bit of cash. Like that second channel
I mean, I think
literally
there's
is free.
nothing wrong with it. I think it's really okay. This is kind of a hot take. I don't really have that much of a problem with showcasers as far as what they do in the community all that much. I think it's
Yeah.
really cool that people can like make a living out of this game. I know that like I don't know how much money X makes now, but I know in the past like there was a legitimately he was making a very substantial amount of money, enough to easily support him
Damn.
and give him good money to save. And as much as I understand why people don't like showcase channels and the fact that they sort of take attention away from uh, creators, I also think that showcase channels are kind of like that is kind of the contract that creators sign is that, you're going to have showcase channels um, who, kind of shamelessly profit off of that content. And I think it's kind of just cool that GD has the capacity to let people make that money in the first place. And I totally understand if people disagree with that, obviously, because like, that's a reasonable response to have to dislike them.
Yeah. And I do want to point out anybody that says it's about money, the Geometry Dash RPM is terrible.
Yeah, it's
Like
not great.
it 5 is good and that's generally bad for YouTube. Like it it does not make you that much money. It's better for like people like Nepesta. Like I talked to Nepesta about it, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm pretty comfortable where I am. A lot of my money comes from all the videos I've done in the past, which makes sense because he's very rewatchable of a content creator."
Hmm.
And another thing is like with showcasers, um, I will point out we almost fell into that. Uh, you do not make a lot of money from showcasing unless it's like Nexus with I Spy with My Little Eye 40 million views.
Holy shit, does it have 40 million?
Uh, I think last time I checked it, it was 38 million.
Jesus Christ.
Like it is. I don't know. Like 1 year of
45 million. You're fucking kidding
45
me.
million.
Jesus
Holy
Christ.
crap! That's gonna. Is that the most popular showcase? That's probably
I think
one
it's
of.
Skeletal Shenanigans.
Oh, that one's the new most
Oh
popular.
wait, no, it's not. It's not. That one has 18 million. But
Well, that's
yeah,
still insane.
that is insane. I kind
Jesus.
of can't believe that level ended up being so popular.
Yeah. Or I always thought it would like. I wish what or how were one of those Sputniks levels. Like I know they were viral, but I wish they were more viral than they actually were because they are
Yeah.
impressive.
I definitely prefer the first of those. I think that one was How.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think honestly, I think it's just good for, people or for levels to be really popular. And I don't really mind. Oh my God. Okay, never mind. I found a YouTube short with 58 million views for Skeletal Shenanigans.
Oh my god. Oh, don't even get me
Wow.
started.
Anyways, um, I think shit hitting the algorithm with this game is kind of just good in general, and I don't really have that big of a problem with it.
Yeah. It's sad how everyone always like pinpoints it to the creator trying to make money instead of like this game that we're all passionate about and love is getting more attention. And
Mhm.
that's really good.
Yeah, and like, obviously there's a level of like greed, I think, if you're just pumping out like only shorts over and
Oh,
over and over and
oh
over.
my god.
But I don't think it matters that much, you know? It just doesn't matter.
It really doesn't.
Like get that bag, you know? Like it's not my problem.
Yeah. I will say though, those GD Shorts creators, oh, like
There's something else.
they are something else. Like I'm the one thing I'm really hoping with Secret Way. There's two goals now. Interview Rob Top and actually possibly get a best GD Shorts channel on the GD Awards each year. Very impossible. I don't know which one's harder because they're both really hard tasks, but they are possible.
Yeah, I mean, best of luck with those.
I appreciate that. But yeah, Secret Way would be number one for GD Shorts channel, at least for 1 year, 100%, because the bar is low. Like,
Yeah,
Secret
the
Way,
bar is not,
it,
you know.
yeah, like Secret Way isn't even like in a generational channel. It's just doing this format in the GD community is different. Like I would give the best GD Shorts channel to I don't know if you know who Nimpop is.
I do not.
He did it with his own voice. Like there's clear passion in it. Like shout out to Nimpop. I've shouted him out like 5 times now. He does a great job. He loves this game clearly, and he's a great editor. He's a great guy. Um, he
Yeah,
deserves it more than we do, in my opinion.
fair
But
enough.
yeah, I would like to get nominated. That would be cool. I don't know if we'll get voted. I don't care if we get voted. Being nominated is all I care about. That would be fun. But um now I know I brought up earlier I have a lot of topics about silent club step.
Hmm.
I probably have more double the amount regarding Space UK.
Oh my God.
And we'll start a little slow.
Okay.
Uh a little subtle. Is there anybody with approved submissions on the demon list that you could call out that you think are hacking?
Um, See, this is the thing, is that okay, I'm going to be very I'm trying to think of how much detail to give here, like how much would be bad. Um,
Hmm.
I have a new technique for catching cheaters that I came up with about a
Mm.
month ago, that should in theory be able to put any hacked completion like to bed, basically.
Yeah.
Um, And, you know, there are, I don't understand it super well yet. I could figure out more about it and like, you know, I think I'd be able to answer this question a lot more coherently. But the other thing is, like, I'm kind of the only person who's motivated about this sort of thing on that even list. And right now, I'm kind of just not feeling it.
Mm.
So, if I have reason to be suspicious of anybody, um, in the future, you will probably uh hear about it in some way, shape, or form if I end up actually catching them. But right now, you know, I just don't really have the energy to look into a bunch of people who probably aren't cheating, you know?
Mm. Okay.
There was I guess I could talk about people who I've been suspicious about in the past. I was
Ooh.
very suspicious of Popov for a while.
Ooh.
Um, and you know, it's very possible that he is cheating. I have not really tried. I've tried a very simple version of the technique that I'm talking about with him, but I have not done a deeper look into him in the past few months. But you know, when he first beat Tidal Wave, I was very suspicious. The way that he acted was just sus as fuck. Like, I asked him while he was streaming or something like that if he would be able to give me some like raw footage or like do a proof stream or whatever, and he like immediately his performance during that stream just fucking went to shit, and like he stopped streaming shortly after, if I remember correctly. And he was really weird about giving me his raw footage and stuff like that. And you know, I had him do like some higher proof standard stuff, and you know, it all seemed fine. But you know, there was a while where I was like, okay, this guy might be cheating. Um, let's see. Uh, I thought Lalik Lee was cheating at one point. It's a player from the Russian community. He's currently 20th on the stats viewer. I'm just looking
Mm.
at it right now. I thought he might have been cheating for a while. I looked pretty hard into him in I think 2023, but I didn't really have the resources to catch him if he was cheating. Um, let's see, Jesse Gaming, you know, obviously he did end up actually cheating,
Yeah.
um, which is cool. Let's see, who else? I had my eye on Hippo for a while. I don't know if you know who that is. He's a player from Argentina. He's 71st on the stats viewer right now, but he used to be like quite a bit higher up. Um, you know, he's one of my friends, but I, you know, felt like I had a justified reason to think that he was suspicious. And there were some very slightly suspicious things about some of his videos that I don't think really pan out to anything in particular.
Mm.
Um, let's see if I keep scrolling, will I see anybody else? I think those are the main ones.
Okay. So, obviously, bringing up cheating.
Mhm.
If you remember, I know it was over 2 years ago now. If you could retell the events that led up to you exposing Space UK in detail.
So I can give a little bit of detail, but not a lot.
Okay.
So it's actually kind of just luck that I ended up looking into him in the first place. But do you want me to just go through the whole thing up until when he actually got like banned and shit?
Honestly, yeah, if you want to.
Sure. So, this was April, like the middle of April of 2023. Um, I, so some people have like hypothesize that it's because there was this guy named MSG who like hacked Silent Close Step. People have hypothesized that that's related. It's not. None of it, it was not anything that people would actually be able that anybody would know about. But basically, um, I had somebody let me know about a hacking technique which seemed good and, you know, threatening and things like that, but I had some ideas of how I would actually go about catching it. Um, so I took a look at Space's videos and I was looking for this specific hacking method, and he wasn't using this hacking method. But I thought that he was associated with the person who I knew had come up with that technique. So I did a really deep check into him specifically because I thought that there was this connection that didn't actually exist. And in doing so, I noticed, oh my God, his click delay is really off. And there's that this is cause for suspicion. And
Yeah.
now at this point, and this is the important background for why Space got away with it for so long, is that we've kind of looked at a bunch of other things about uh, hacking techniques that like our methods at the time were geared towards a very like specific vein of hackers that space really wasn't, because I kind of assumed that that was such like a bad technique to use that nobody would actually think to use it. And as we eventually learned, someone very much was using it and it very much did have the capacity to work.
Yeah.
But our what we were looking for in hacked completions at the time, we did not have a ton of faith in click delay in general. And we were generally we were just looking for different things than what space was actually like doing. And so I write down a bunch of the click delays in his various completions, and I bring it forward to like a group of people in the demon list and the challenge list, because we had a server that was pretty active at the time, back when the challenge list was a bit more like, I think, professionally ran. That was kind of like, let's let's combine our resources when it comes to looking into certain people. So I put it all there, and eventually, we put all of his records under consideration or something. We might have rejected them, I'm not sure. And we weren't really able to find anything super concrete other than the click delay stuff, because as I said, we weren't really looking for those sorts of things at the time. But so everybody eventually was like, okay, yeah, this is nothing. We're good to just, accept this stuff again. But I specifically was like, no, I'm going to keep looking into this. So I found the him pressing a button and then he would like start
Oh.
beating the level or whatever. And I was like, okay, this guy's definitely cheating now. So I presented that again to all of the people in this server, and we were like, okay, we've got to do something about this guy now. So I made my exposal video, because I only had raw footage for some of his harder stuff. And I didn't have a ton of faith in click delay related things. I thought that like if we had used like YouTube videos or something like that, that the way that encoding works would make it unreliable, for checking click delay, which isn't really true.
Mm.
So I uh, basically made my video, hedged very hard and said, okay, don't go after him for like slaughterhouse or anything like that. Those are probably legit. But I never actually looked at the slaughterhouse once. I just kind of, because I assumed that I wouldn't have gotten anything out of it, which as we learned, was very much not true.
Yeah.
So a couple of hours after I post that initial exposal, someone in that challenge list group goes, hey, wait a minute. There's this weird watermark thing that I remember, the developer of Zbot talking about. And so we take a look, and all of his fucking records show up for this. So we get the developer of Zbot involved, and he's like, "Yep, this means that he is using Zbot for these completions." So yeah, that's kind of how that all went down. I think the stars aligned for him in a very good way to make him, viable for cheating for a very long time. Um, but I really don't have faith that someone like him could show up again, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And it kind of sucks that the exposal that I'm like will always be known the most for is something that didn't really require much critical thought or anything like that. And it was kind of just that I had a paradigmatically, um, poor understanding of how people would be cheating at the time.
Mm. And what was going through your mind?
Um, well, I was just like, sorry, my throat's kind of like,
No, you're okay. There's
um,
dramatic.
I kind of just remember being like, oh my God, we're gonna get so much shit for this. Like, we're fucked. Um, because like that's kind of the thing about it, right? Is that like it's really cool to like catch someone who's cheating, but also this is like in hindsight, it's like, okay, wow, we should have noticed this sooner. Um, but we didn't notice it sooner. Uh, and in fact, I remember one time I scared Space because I asked him for his Sakupin Circles raw footage because he had this weird little privacy setting on that would like cut his video whenever he would tab out or something like that. So I was like,
Ooh.
could you upload this again or something like that? And or like asked him for an explanation or something, and it ended up being completely unrelated to how he was actually cheating, so he got away with it. But I knew that the community was probably not going to be super fond of the fact that this cheater who very much was catchable if we had a better understanding of like how people were cheating, like the fact that he was able to dominate the community for so long.
Hmm. Yeah, that would honestly scare the shit out of me.
Yeah, no, and I didn't like it, and it's something that always crosses my mind whenever I think about like, oh my God, what if this really popular player is cheating? It's like, oh God, this is going to be so bad. But I feel like that's at a point now where if there is some, super popular top player who's actually cheating, I would hope that the people in the community would be like, okay, we would not have caught this on our own. Um,
Yeah.
you know. So I think space is definitely going to forever be the worst oversights of the list team's history, but I could be wrong about that.
Yeah, it's like oh my god, could you imagine if Zoink was cheating?
Dude, if Zoink was cheating, I don't fucking know what I would do.
I
I
would
would
quit.
be very unhappy.
I would quit. I would just say
Yeah, the
y'all can
fact
deal with
like
this.
exactly.
I couldn't handle something like that. Me like imagine I don't know, like just exposing someone to Zoink's level of skill. Like it's similar with like exposing
That's the
someone
other
in
thing
like
about
Boss
it.
Rush.
With space, if I was wrong about him cheating, I was fucked. So I had to be like super, super careful, or like not careful, but I had to like think really, really hard. Okay, is there any possible explanation for what's going on here? And I've exposed quite a few people publicly in my time.
Yeah.
And that's always the thought that crosses my mind with it.
Yeah.
Is just like, oh my God, what if there's some freak explanation? So, I am very cautious about, who I will actually take the time to like do something about because of that.
Yeah. Honestly, uh I just okay, this is going to be a hot take which is
Mhm.
actually kind of funny because it is a new segment. I'm gonna actually ask you later, probably after these Space UK questions, but I do want
Sure.
to point out I like that the Space UK thing happened because a I mean obviously we're like better with catching people. We're more hyper focused on it. We're more like okay, we should be a little more careful than we were. And B, I love the story behind it all.
I think, okay, I honestly kind of agree with you. Obviously, should be clear, it is bad. You should not
Yeah.
cheat.
Do
You
not
should
cheat.
not try to make money from cheating, and you should definitely not try to be the number one player by cheating, right? However, it happened. Let's find the silver lining in it, which is that I think it's very interesting. It is a super unique period of the game's history, in
Mm-hmm.
spite of everything. And I really don't like there's something to be said, I think, for such an obvious, like such a fundamentally unique best player for a while. And I think that he also just like pushed the game forward quite a bit. He, compelled Zoink to try to like actually compete with him
A hundred
because he
percent.
was so much better than everybody else at the time. So I think that he, is responsible. He's definitely responsible for the demotivation of a lot of players, but I also think he's responsible for the motivation of like the best player. Uh, and then also I think verifying Slaughterhouse, super cool level, super iconic. I'm really glad it ended up actually being top one for a while, because I think it was a good thing for the game overall, to have such a level at the number one spot for a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. Slaughterhouse has a lot of aura.
It does. It's true.
But man, I don't know what space question to pan to. And it's funny. It's like this space thing was so big that with like if he was never cheating, I don't think we'd ever like describe time periods in Geometry Dash with the period that Space UK was hacking. Like
Yeah, like if I say the period that Space UK was hacking, it's so obvious what era of the game I'm
yeah,
talking about. Like he really defined a moment, like a good year and a half period in the game's history, and I think that's honestly kind of cool.
yeah. And before we go to the next question, remember what Paco said, guys? Do not hack. Do not
Do not
do
hack.
not try to do what
Cheating
he
is
did.
bad. You'll probably get caught.
Yeah.
Uh, if it really comes down to it, I'll figure it out, you know?
Yeah. Or you could be like Frank Abagnale. You could be the Frank Abagnale of Geometry Dash, where you become a hacker with a new method that nobody knows, and then you become like a moderator.
Ooh, that'd be pretty cool.
That would be really cool backstory.
Yeah.
But I guess we'll just because this one was asked quite a bit by a couple viewers. Thoughts on Space UK playing again?
I don't really care.
I figured.
Um, I just, in general, this is something that's gotten me in some hot water, like personally, with like friends and stuff like that, not like the community. I
Yeah.
just like don't really have that much of an issue with like people, you know? I just don't really have it in me to get super pissy about like specific individuals or the things that they do or anything like that, you know?
Mhm.
Um, I have faith that space would not do that again. I think it's people are justified to feel however they want about him. My personal perspective is, he's just living his life. The way that he handled it after he got exposed is kind of about how I would expect anybody in his shoes to react. And clearly I was talking with one of his friends who told me that he was trying to get him for an interview and he specifically refused because he just didn't think that the community needed to, see him or anything like that. And
Hmm.
to me, that showed character. And when I heard about that, I was like, you know what? It's fine. I would rather he never have done it in the first place, but I don't have an issue with the guy. I don't care that he's playing the game again. I just, you know, all of my issues that I have with space are more just I wish he had not done this thing 3 years ago, and that's not really. I just don't think that's worth holding against him.
Yeah. Yeah. I honestly agree. I I don't forgive. Well, I do. I do. Okay, I don't forgive, but I do like the idea of moving on and kind of seeing the progression in people about things they've done. Obviously, there's some exceptions with like guitar and grazing, but um, with like space, it's like after doing the interview and talking to him now, and like spoiler alert, I bought him the Wooting. Like I'm kind of the reason why he's still playing.
Oh wow.
um, well, I wouldn't have Z's for him, so apologies if anyone hates that he's coming back. I'm kind of an enabler. I apologize. But I do like how he is kind of back in a sense where he's putting himself through something that he didn't go through, but people thought he did, like going through Acheron, and that's really admirable. Like
Yeah,
he's
I think it's if he actually goes back and he does all his completions and shit, I think that's cool as fuck.
yeah
Um, I was kind of banking on that eventually being something he did anyways, just because like levels get easier over time. And I think that people don't really acknowledge that fact all that much. Like it is easier to beat all of the things that Space has beaten now than it was in 2022 or whenever he was
yeah
at his peak. Um, so I hope he does. I think it'd be pretty cool.
yeah it would be really cool, and just generally like he does seem like he actually enjoys the community. Like he's not. I invited him to this server where they're just trying to fill it with people in the GD community. He instantly left. Um, because
Space.
yeah, space. Because someone pinged him and said something weird. But
Yeah.
I do think he actually like cares about the community over the game. Hence why he's probably why the reason he's going for Acheron. Because he doesn't need to, but he is, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah. It's as I said, I wish he had not cheated years ago, but like he has, and there's not much we can do now.
Yeah. And you briefly mentioned how you did scare him before he got exposed, but were there any suspicions before you
Not
actually
really.
committed?
The way that he talk, this is the thing about space, right? Is that he this is like he was not very good at cheating mechanically, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like if he tried to submit something now using the technique that he used before, he would get caught very quickly. Um, right? But the thing about space is that he was very, very good at talking like a legit player. Um,
Yeah.
as somebody who was pretty undebatably like a top player at that point. Um, I felt like he was part of that circle that I was also in. Like on a fundamental level, he seemed to like understand how experiences with levels worked. He seemed to like understand um fuck, my throat is
I
he
am.
just did a bunch of things that to me gave the illusion of him being like very in the know about like what it actually feels like to be a good player. And he carried himself, and I've talked with other people about this, he carried himself in such a way that nobody really doubted the fact that he knew what he was talking about this stuff. Um, and as we've learned, obviously not the case,
Yeah.
but yeah, he did a remarkably good job at coming off like a legit player, coming off as like one of us kind of. And I think that that's really how he was able to get away with it for so long. As far as people like go, like if he had never been cheating at all, I think he would have been one of the most legit seeming players in the whole top play sphere at that point. Um, just because like the way that he played things, he made a couple of like nerfed versions of levels and stuff like that. He had like good insights on like how to actually like get good at levels, all of that sort of thing. And I was like, okay, this guy seems like he knows what he's talking about, and I think everybody else kind of implicitly did as well. Which kind of made I don't think people really felt compelled to, look at his records with a critical eye or anything like that ever.
Hmm. Yeah. Uh, One thing I kind of heard a lot about how he was able to blend in as well was like apparently he was actually good at the game.
He was good at the game, but I don't think that really mattered that much for this.
True.
Um, just because like the gap between how good he was and how good he was claiming to be was so big that I just don't think it realistically like I don't think it carried over. I think he knew how to talk.
Yeah. I don't know. I think uh as far as I have been aware and talking to him, he was basically able to do the golden and was the only thing he wanted to really do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you know, apparently he did Kinos. I genuinely have no idea if that. I didn't even ask him about that. If I'm gonna be honest.
I think he did do keynotes. Or maybe it was Arctic Lights. It was one of those two, I think.
I don't remember. I just know the golden was a whole thing. Um, and it became an accident that he cheated. Like it is just a mess.
Yeah, it was.
But I did mention earlier about a hot take of mine and how we are kind of going to add a little bit of a new tradition with these interviews.
Hmm.
Um, this question will be asked every time, and we'll start with you. What is your hottest take in Geometry Dash?
In Geometry Dash.
Yes.
Oh man, I feel like I have a bunch of hot takes. Do you want like a specific one, or do you want me to just kind of talk about a few different ones that I have?
You can talk about every single one of
Yeah,
them if you want.
sure. Yeah, I'll just talk, and as I come up with other ones, I'll just sort of bring them up, and we can do that for a second.
Alrighty.
Um, I think I don't care how well a level plays if the um if it feels like it is intentional and thoughtful. Like, let me give a good example. Let me go to Pointer Pit really quickly. Thinking Space, I think, is a great example. I think Thinking Space would be a substantially worse level if it was not balanced to be super end heavy, even if that goes against conventional wisdom of how levels should be balanced. Memorability matters so much for levels, and having infamous parts in levels is like the way that you make people passionate about your level, and it's the way that levels stick out in people's minds. Um, like if Tartarus didn't have those like iconic choke points like at 31 and 45, I think that people would think about it a lot less and it would be a lot less intimidating
Yeah.
because like that is part of the Tartarus experience is you're going to get your ass kicked by these specific parts that have been designed with fixed hitboxes to be as hard as they possibly can. Um, like I think that there's really something to be said for levels intentionally balancing themselves such that the you go into the experience with the expectation that you're going to get your ass kicked by a specific part. Acheron as well. The ending is the hardest part of Acheron, or at least that was the case in 2.1. It's debatable now, but the ending is brutal. Everybody gets their ass kicked there. It contributes so much to the difficulty and the memorability of the level. When I think of Acheron, I think of the ending of Acheron. Um, and it's worth noting that there are bad ways to do this as well. Amethyst, for instance, has a bunch of, or maybe Thinking Space 2 is a better example, has a bunch of really shitty choices with how spikes are designed and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Hitboxes just, there's really no respect with like where hitboxes actually should be. And I think that that's bad because it feels like it's forcing it to just kind of be indiscriminately hard rather than there actually being any intention behind that. Tidal Wave's another good one where I think it's a good example. You have an easy pre-drop and a really hard second half of that first wave that sort of defines like, okay, if you get past this point, shit is real with the experience now. Um, I just think that it's a good way to make your level stick out. And I think that there's a lot to be said for leveraging, balancing, and intentionally obtuse gameplay choices to create a more memorable and intimidating and, um, in a way, more appealing experience. So that's one hot take of mine. Um, I guess downstream from that, I think that people need to think a lot more about like iconic parts in levels. Um,
Oh yeah.
Levels stick out a lot more if there's like a titular part to them that makes you think of it whenever you interact with it. Like for instance, Slaughterhouse River, River's like the part of Slaughterhouse because it's so fucking hard and iconic. And I think it was designed in a really, really smart way specifically for that to be the case. Um, same with Thinking Space, it is very memorable because of that one part. Um, so that's one of my hot takes. I think people should make unbalanced things more as long as it feels like it is an intentional design choice to do so and it doesn't feel weird and arbitrary. Second, I mentioned this earlier, I think levels legitimately get easier over time. I think Acheron, even well, Acheron's a bad example, but like I think the Golden, for instance, is way easier now than it was in 2021 for reasons that aren't FPS bypass, reasons that aren't CBF, not 2.2, nothing like that. I think it is just legitimately an easier level now than it was before because the way that the community has gotten better makes it so that there are so many more stepping stones. There's so much less stigma about the level now because it's like number 80 on the demon list or number 70 on the demon list when before
Yeah.
it was number one. Um, I just think it is an easier level now. Like a good example I can use is like if you think of Fortnite, right? And you look at the way that Ninja was building when he was the best player, like half a year after the game came out. If you took that long to get that good at building now, it would be kind of embarrassing. Even though nothing substantial has actually changed, like it is easier to get good at something when there are a ton of people who are way better than that specific skill level. Um, so I guess that would be another hot take that I have. Um, let's see. Those are the hot takes that immediately come to mind for me, but if you want to circle back to this question at a later point, we could do that.
I mean, we can at some point. I will say though that third one about levels just getting easier over time, I fully agree. I think another thing is like the more people that beat it, like the more it kind of like I guess this is how I feel about it. Like the more people that beat it, the more I would like look at a level like Bloodbath. When it got
Mhm.
100 victors, I like started hyper focusing on. I'm like, oh my god, and then I started playing the level again, like after it got 100 completions, and I was like, wait, I get why this has 100 completions now. And another thing is like the more you digest a level that gets like beaten, the more you're gonna like be more familiar with it as well. Like
Yeah, and I think that's a good point.
yeah, like I can think of every part of Bloodbath one to one in my brain right now, but I can't do that for Thinking Space. I can't do that for Tidal Wave. I can't do that for Amethyst. And maybe a year or two, maybe even 5 years if it takes that long down the line, more people will be able to kind of think of every part of these newer levels. And it's the same thing with, like you said, with the golden. Like I'm so much more familiar with the golden now in my brain than I am 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, I'm trying to find I saw an interesting statistic that I am looking for right now. So in 1954, the first person ever ran a 4 minute mile.
Mm-hmm.
And before that point, it was thought to be maybe even physically impossible for the human body to do that. That there was no way that somebody could break that 4 minute barrier and actually run that quickly. Um, so for a long time, people have been running for millennia, but it wasn't until 1954 that somebody first did it. And now, in the advent of that, there were no huge changes to, technique or anything like that with respect to, fast runners,
Yeah.
competitively speaking. But after only 3 years, even though it took millennia for people to get up until that point in the first place, within 3 years of him breaking it, 16 other people broke the 4 minute barrier.
Damn.
Um, and now it's over 2,000 people. And there's something to be said for, obviously it is a bit harder. Like it is, people have better technique and, better gear and all that stuff and a better idea of like how they should be running. There's a lot more of an industry around. Uh, Sort of like how CBF and stuff like that works. There's a lot of ways that we've made the experience of running more advantageous for people trying to, run a 4 minute mile or beat a top one,
Yeah.
right? But within 3 years, 16 people follow suit when there's no time for those benefits to actually happen. It's just that when a barrier gets broken, people go, "Oh, I can do this too," and then they start. It happens for other people as well. Um, and I think that, that's a really under discussed point when it comes to stuff about top play is just the fact that, once a bunch of people start doing something and it becomes kind of normalized, like beating Bloodbath or beating Tartarus or the Golden or whatever,
Yeah.
it becomes a lot easier for other people to follow suit because they recognize, hey, this person who's as good as me was able to do this. Therefore, there's nothing stopping me from doing it either. So yeah, I do honestly think that levels get easier over time, and the main mechanism for that is kind of like what you were saying about the monkey see, monkey do, you know?
Mm. Okay. That's a lot. That is a lot to digest. I don't know
That's
that
fair.
that that study though. Like it does make a lot of sense. I guess it's also like it kind of made me realize it. Oh, how do I put this into words? It's like everyone as a whole is mind blocked, and then once in someone's brain it looks like, oh wait, this is possible because someone did it, that also could be a motivator. Like there's so many
Exactly.
factors.
GD is just such a mental game.
Yeah.
Like if GD were not a mental game, I think Zoink would not be the best player, not even close. It's just that it's such a rare combination for someone to improve so quickly and to have the mental game needed for being such a good player, and I think that's a big part of why Zoink is like where he is.
Yeah. That's without a doubt. But I guess we can go back to space for a brief moment.
Sure.
Could space ever get unbanned from the demon list?
Um, Probably not. That's not because it's my choice or anything like that, but I think a lot of people on the listing feel very strongly about this, um, and think that someone who, damaged the credibility of the list so much
Yeah.
and, fucked up the community so much and was obviously so, I don't want to say pathological, but someone who kept it up for so long, and even when he was obviously seeing the way that it was impacting people around him. I think that people just don't want to grace that with an unban. And that's not to say that like I personally agree with that or that I think this is the way that things need to be done. However, um, just based off of my understanding of how other people tend to think about these sorts of things on the list team, it just doesn't seem very likely for me.
Okay. And I think, yeah, that is the last question I have about space. um. Ooh. Okay. So this next one, I probably should have said at the beginning. You can refrain from answering some questions.
Yeah, sure.
Um. I was very curious about this. Is there any corruption in the demon list or any corrupted acts that have happened that you know of that you would be willing to point out? For
Let me
example,
think about that for a sec.
like an example could be lowering a level deliberately to lower certain players' like points on the stats
I
view.
don't think no, not nothing like that. At least not in the past like half a decade. I could see that being the case with the last like because I've been around for a very long time. I could see the people who were leaders when I was on the team first, like in 2020. I could see that being the case with them,
Mm-hmm.
but the people have a much worse perception of what actually goes on inside the list team than is actually justified.
Mm.
And what I'll say about that is that if there was really this big corrupt ring happening with the demon list or anything like that, you would have heard about it by now. Um, people come and go all the time. We cannot force people to sign a non-disclosure agreement or some, crazy shit to
Yeah.
prevent them from sharing things. Um, People really only, people like the environment of the Demon List team. It's just that there are, a lot of aspects of it that I think eventually start to wear people down and make them less interested, or they just start to have other priorities in life. Um,
Yeah.
but as for corruption, I think it is remarkably clean. I can't really think of anything that's actually happened where I would say, yeah, this is like actively corrupt, other than like, I think someone who is a friend of someone on the list team is going to have a better time. Like, if there's like a minor thing, like, oh, change the order of where I am on the leaderboard for this specific like level or something like that. Someone who has connections is going to have a better time getting that done. But that's kind of just because there's limited resources and attention for people on the list team,
Yeah.
and people are more likely to allocate those resources and attention to people who they know personally and are on good terms with. But as far as any meaningful corruption or anything like that goes, I think it is basically completely clean. um I'm trying to think of any good examples where like I would disagree with this, and I just don't really think there are any. um the people who leave the list team and have the opportunity to talk about whatever, they are able to hold us accountable just because we have no way to prevent them from, uh, you know, talking about whatever. And so if that changes and there's some big corrupt thing happening with the Demon List team, then eventually I think it will come out, and there's really not much that we could do about it in that hypothetical.
Okay. Yeah, I hope. I was hoping, and I'm glad that the answer you had was a pretty much resounding no.
Yeah, I mean, like if I digging a little bit deeper, I think um there are definitely cases where I think we've been a little bit strategic with how we do certain things, but I don't think that's really being corrupt. I think that's kind of just like,
Yeah,
yeah, I think that's kind of different.
it was pretty different. But yeah, no, I because this may or may not be kind of like a directed question that I had because
Hmm.
one of my friends don't know if you know who Scheller is.
I do not
Um,
know who Scheller is.
apparently, if his I don't know if his records are submitted or if they're just not accepted or whatever is going on with him. But apparently, he would be the number 2 player in Oregon right now, and
Scheller. How do you spell that name?
Scheller, and then there's a 9 at the end. I've
Scheller 9.
I'm putting him on blast because I think he's joking about it, but I'm gonna put him on blast
He
anyways.
has a record for Super Hate Me World submitted. He has one for Limbo submitted, Rust and Shimmer. And that's it. So I don't think that he would be, where is he right now?
I don't even
He
he's
he has 150 list points right now.
oh, he's on.
Uh because I'm still marked as Oregon because I lived there for a while, even though I'm not there anymore, but I just am lazy and I don't really care to change it.
Ah,
Um he would be the fifth, number 5 in Oregon right now.
yeah, I think because what's the hardest completion in Oregon
Silent Club Step.
other than you?
Um, Tartarus.
Hmm.
Wait, no, I think it's him. I think it's
I
Limbo.
was gonna say I'm pretty sure it's him because I looked and it was
Is he
Tartarus.
actually in Oregon? I can change that right now.
I honestly I'd have to ask him, but um, you heard it here, Scheller. Asked just for you. Paqoe doesn't even live in Oregon, so you can shut up. No, he definitely jokes about that a lot, but it was also
Yeah.
because he kept joking about it. It made me like think like I could
Hmm.
ask like if there
Yeah.
is any corruption or not. Because
No,
there's,
there is no corruption.
but yeah, I'm glad that there's no corruption. Is good. That
Hmm.
I was really glad that your answer to that was no.
Well, I'm kind of, I feel like if there was, I would probably kind of answer the same way.
I mean, probably yeah, but I don't know. Either way, the fact that you're willing to try to look into your memory to see
Hmm.
if there's any pretty commemorable. But
Yeah, thank you.
yeah, and um, I forgot I added this. Do you know who Connix is?
Oh, of course I know who Connix is.
Can you give me the context behind you apparently flirting with him?
He's just saying shit. I've
Okay.
never flirted with him. Um, I got his ass a couple of years ago for cheating VSC. Um, and I think that made him feel a kind of way, you know? But no, I have not been flirting with Connix. I am not really interested in anything like that.
All right, I'm gonna go to him about this too.
It's okay. Yeah, go for it.
Thank you for this interview. I'm gonna use this to go to people personally. I'm gonna
Yeah,
embarrass them.
totally. Yeah.
But I did mention earlier, uh, I brought up how I have a little activity that I wanted to do.
Oh boy.
That I think with all people, you would be one of the most interesting ones to hear about this or to
Okay.
like hear your opinion on this. Creating a GD Mount Rushmore.
Okay.
So
Creating
there's
a GD Mount Rushmore. How many
hmm.
people?
um so there's two different criteria. There's either you can do four Mount Rushmores with one topic on each of them, or you could do one with one individual person on each one, or you can do both. Because with we asked Zoink and he did the one Mount Rushmore with four different people, but then I asked
Hmm.
Nepesta and he just did four Mount Rushmores, uh, I guess, and then he did all of them at the end together.
I mean, I could do the Nepesta one. For playing, I would do Zoink. I would do Space. I would do Sonics.
Space.
Yeah.
Oh, not for hacking.
No, I don't think there's that much to be said for hacking, you know? Um, I'll explain how I segment it out. Um,
Okay.
I don't know if I would put Space, but I would. I don't know if I'd put Riot. I think I could do it with five pretty easily. I don't know if I could do it with four. Sunix, Zoink for sure. Then I'd probably say like Space and Riot, I think, for players.
Ooh.
And if the spirit of it is more to include legit people, then I would probably do either Tech or End Switch instead of Space.
Honestly, you can keep with Space because clearly he is actually good at the game.
I mean, he's good at the game, but like that's not why he's part of the playing
Oh
Mount
yeah.
Rushmore. He's just, you know. But yeah, that's what I would do for that. Um,
Next would be level creator.
Level creator, funny game.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's kind of undebatable. I
Yeah.
would do Kulik.
Ooh, that's a good one. I haven't heard that one
I
yet.
think Kulik is an incredible creator. He just had a lot of knockoffs, which I think made his style less special, but that's not his fault. Um, let's see, what have other people said for creators?
Um, Zobros.
One second.
Sputniks. Oh, okay.
Oh, Kermal.
The Kermal. I
Yeah,
think.
Kermal. So I would have Kermal, funny game. Um, Let me think.
It's interesting. Tech. I think Tech put Samifine,
I would not put
but
Samifine
I
personally.
think that's just Tech being like. I think he just likes Samifine so much.
Yeah. Let me think. It's gonna be just a
Zobros.
sec. I would not put Zobros, I don't think. He's
I
close though.
I would just for nine circles.
No, that's fair. Nine Circles is really I don't know if this is quite I put Mindcap
Mmm, that's a good one.
and I would put like the main person of Cherry Team if there was somebody, but I don't think that there really is. Um so I'm kind of just like looking at the list right now and seeing like just like so I can see a bunch of names of levels and see if anything catches my eye.
Mm.
Um Honestly, I'm gonna have to say Iced Cave.
Ooh.
I think, okay, this is something I could talk about. I think that Iced Cave is a brilliant gameplay creator. He is really, really clever with the way that he makes gameplay. He makes things that people, very like concepts that you can build off of. And a lot of people like to build off of his shit. Um, there's so many remakes of Diamond Blade. There's so many like Final Destination inspired levels. There's so many Slaughterhouse inspired
Yeah.
ones. Everything he does just is like designed to be like reproducible, and it feels like he gives like a blueprint for like cool gimmicks that other people end up trying out. And I think that he is one of the most influential creators in the game with that in mind, so I'd have to give it to Ice Cave for that. Um, so I do Funny Game, Kermal, Iced Cave, and Mindcap, probably.
Hmm. And then content creator.
Content creating. Um, I could see you being there if you keep at it for longer, but
Aw.
I have to do Nepesta. For never mind. For top play, I would switch out Sonics with Doggy. So it'd be Space,
Ooh.
Doggy, Riot, Zoink. But anyways, back to content creating. I'd put and Nepesta. I would put this is gonna be I could see Nexus honestly, but I'd have to think about it a bit more. I think FNM is such a definitive channel in the history of the game. Um, hmm. I'm just trying to like look up Eric Van Wilderman, I think has got to go on there.
Yeah. Yeah,
And then I'd say like Vortrox probably.
yeah, I will say this. I think every person I've asked this so far, we're just like the main three: EVW, colon, Nepesta.
Colin is good, but I feel like his videos are I don't know. It feels like he makes videos, but his stuff is not really like it doesn't inspire other people that much.
That makes
At
sense.
least that's kind of my impression. Like he's just never really stuck out in my mind. And that's not to say that like he's a bad creator or a bad content creator or anything. He's just like, you know,
That's
um
actually kind of interesting you say that. He never really
it just feels like
sticks out for me either. I guess I just agreed with it because of cognitive dissonance.
I don't think that's necessarily true. I think there's probably some nuance to it, and I think it's legitimate if people want to include it. It's just that he's never left much of an impression on me specifically.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I don't really want. I don't. I was never really a fan of his content. I mean, I'm a
So
fan
I
of
would
him,
do
but
Eric Van Wilderman, Vortrox, Nepesta, and fuck, there's someone else I said, and I'm trying to remember who it was now.
you mentioned FNM, Nexus.
Oh yeah. Maybe Nexus. I don't know. And that's not to say that I like his content. I think it's bad, but I think that he's like part of Mount Rushmore.
Hmm. I will say, if you were to toss a showcaser on there, I would go with Narrow over Nexus.
You think? I would put
Yeah.
FNM over Narrow personally.
The only
It's
reason
more that
why,
Nexus was really big before that point as well. Like he
yeah,
was huge in like even back in like 2019.
that is true. For me, it's just like I feel like Narrow. Sure, he had like that hacking thingy and didn't really do anything to
Hmm.
fix it, but I mean, Abyss of Darkness, the new top one challenge. I forgot what Illusion of Hell, and then Tunnel of Despair, and then the showcase scene. Like Narrow has done a lot more than Nexus, I would say.
You think so?
I think so. I don't really know what Nexus has done though, outside of just showcasing. I'd have to think. I mean, he did verify Crazy 3, which at the time, I guess, was seen as an extreme demon.
Yeah. Yeah. And then was there another
Oh, yeah.
ice?
There was a fourth one, hacker slash modder or or like programmer, anything like
Mm,
that.
um I mean I feel like for that I kind and this is gonna be bad or sound ego. I think I have to be on a hacker sort of thing. Um I'd obviously put space. Um
Wait, you're a hacker?
yep. I put absolute. Uh
Yeah, absolute's a good one.
and who let me look something up. Maybe Sizzy. Um
Oh yeah, for CBF.
yeah. Uh maybe HJ Fod actually. He's the lead dev of Geode. He's made better at it, GD share. I think I'd probably have to put him. Um
Hmm.
yeah.
That's actually I like the hacker slash programmer one because there's a lot of varying answers. Because Tech, he said I know one of them he said something something Pi. I forgot his name. He's the one
Powered by
that,
Pi.
yeah, powered by Pi because he influenced the Pi Pass.
Yeah. That's a good one. I feel like it can't just be like super specific things. It kind of has to be like big
Yeah,
influence, you know? Um, but yeah.
and then all one the number one in each one of them onto one Mount Rushmore. We'll start
Man,
with Pi.
I'm not gonna do it quite like that. I'm just gonna think about it like, okay, I think Doggy has
Mm-hmm.
to be there. I think, fuck.
Yeah, this is where it gets really hard.
Yeah, it does. Doggy Nepesta, Kermal.
Ooh, that's a.
No, funny game.
Oh, I was gonna say that would be a really interesting one.
That would be an interesting one. Doggy, Kermal, Nepesta, and
You mean funny game?
uh, because I just don't think that the hacker programmer ones are as influential as like the creator ones, for instance.
Yeah.
Um,
Honestly, I'm gonna be honest with you. The hacker one was just filler because there's
that's
four
fair.
heads.
Yeah. Um, let's think.
Put our thinking caps on.
Who did I say for creating again? I said funny game, Kermal, and who else?
Funny game, Kermal. Um. Oh, for level creating. Mind cap.
And there's one more. Iced Cave.
Ice cave. Yeah.
Um, I think people underrate Iced Cave's influence a lot. So I'm gonna say Doggy, Nepesta, Funny Game, Iced Cave.
Hmm. Okay. That's actually interesting. This is the first Mount Rushmore where there's no like hacker programmer on it. But that's a good one.
Yeah, I just don't think that, I like Iced Cave is kind of he's just responsible for a specific outlook on creating, which for better or for worse is just kind of part of the game now. Um, I think Funny Game pioneered so much shit. He's like the creator of Geometry Dash in my eyes. Doggy pushed content creation forward and, was just such an all-around player. And then I'd have to say the same for Nepesta as well.
Yeah, honestly, I'll go into Doggy for a bit. I don't think we've ever seen someone before, and I don't think we'll ever see anybody since who's like that good at decorating and playing and content creation all at the same time.
Oh, I agree. Oh, I have another controversial take. I think Doggy should buff Grief. Um,
Oh.
I think he should buff the shit out of Grief. Uh, I think the reason why he's stuck right now is because he's gotten in his own head about progress, and he needs to change. He's not going to nerf the level, right? He won't let himself do that. He's not going to drop it, and what he's doing right now doesn't seem to work. I think that he needs to reset how his brain sees the progress on the level and start from scratch, basically. So I think he needs to buff the shit out of the level so that like getting past the first drop becomes an achievement in of itself again for him. That is a hot take that I have. Um, because right, he's so mind blocked about 80%, and oh, I can't get to the second drop. It's been months since I've gotten back to the second drop. I think that's I think he needs to reframe the level in his mind and basically get the opportunity to start over with respect to making serious progress from zero. And I think that buffing it is the only like real good way he could do that.
Hmm. That is a really hot take.
It is a really hot take, but and I don't think that he would actually do it. However, I think that if he had buffed it like 6 months ago, he would probably be on pace to beat it sooner than he is right now.
Damn. I guess that makes sense because it's like it's kind of forcing himself to learn each part more and more and more than he already
Well, it's not
does.
really about that. It's more just the fact that, like, okay, this is something that I think I have insight on because I have verified a top one at one point. I know how it feels, right? Not to the same extent that he did. I had about 40% of the attempts that he's currently at on grief, but I do have some insight, which
Yeah.
is that it is very easy to get arbitrarily mind blocked with a specific point of progress and to just get stuck there for a while. And there's nothing that you can do. If you can't reframe the level in some way, you will just bang your head again and again and again. Like I sunk in so much fucking time with like 65% on silent club step because I just could not get past it. And then I got past it once and I could not get past it again. Um, it's so hard to do. Um, and if you have the opportunity to make it so that your brain stops seeing a specific point as like this is the wall of progress, this is where I cannot get past, then I think it becomes a lot easier for you. It basically it gives you the opportunity to like re-roll your experience with the level and give it another shot if you think that you've gotten unlucky. And obviously, it comes with the expectation that he is not going to suddenly fluke the level or anything like that. He's going to be in it for the long haul. That's a guarantee. But he already seems to be, and there's no end in sight like there would be with if he re-rolled it, I think.
Ooh. Okay. Yeah, that honestly, I can see that. I think it's very interesting with Doggy though because he is like I mean obviously the community sees him as either the fourth best actual GD player or like more closer to the top 10 than he is like on the stats viewer and
Hmm.
he's like one of the few that's so high up with the least amount of like level experience.
I mean, I don't. This is the doggies, and this is like doggies skill as a player has never been his raw skill. He is a very determined player, and that has pushed him much further than pretty much anybody else would be able to push themselves.
Yeah,
But I don't think that he's the fourth best player. I don't think that he's really in contention for the fourth best player. If I had to put him in a specific spot, and this is not a judgment whatsoever, I would probably say that he is probably somewhere around the 15 to 20 spot in terms of raw skill. Um, he's just so good at playing things, and he's so good at making people invested in his achievements.
that is true.
Um, and I think that elevates him a lot more than someone like Nethermind, who has a bunch of raw skill, plays the game a fuck ton, and just beats a shit ton of hard levels, you know?
Mm-hmm. It's also a lot of popularity goes into it, which sucks. But
Yeah, it's just kind of how it works.
yeah, that's why I really love Zoink being the top player because he's a one of the most popular GD players. B actually has that in him to be the best. I think Zoink.
Who is this?
Oh, I was talking about Zoink.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like what I said. I don't remember who I said this to. I really hope that if Zoink ever like stops, that it turns into like another end switch situation where he just sits there for like another year and a half. Cause why not? Cause he can.
Yeah, I agree.
'Cause he represents GD very well, and Popov seems like a chill dude, but want. I don't think Popov should represent this community with number one spot. Uh,
Yeah, I agree.
if anybody, next best, I guess, Trick. But
Yeah, I think the second best player, if I had to give a top five skill ranking right now, I would probably say Zoink, Trick, Popoff, um, Servax,
Yeah,
and maybe like Thunder.
yeah. Cervax is underrated. Hella underrated.
Servax is very underrated. He is a very good player. Um, yeah.
Yeah, and Thunder is also a good choice.
He's coming back to the game. Do you know what happened with him? Like why he stopped playing for a little while?
I do not.
He had some health issues, like not just carpal tunnel, like some serious health issues that
Oh.
made his hand not work very well for a while. Um, so he has physically not been able to play GD for a while. Um, and will be coming back or is coming back right now. And he is, a remarkably skilled player at grinding levels.
Mhm.
And I think he has the opportunity to actually push himself with harder shit. And I look forward to seeing that. And I think that, he is going to be a very like skilled player eventually. Like one of the most like top three at some point if he commits himself.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm low key just straight up lying to your face. I did know about that. I guess I just forgot. And
That's so real.
it like took me by shock, cause like when I found out about, I think I was on Popoff's stream talking about it, and it was just very surprising to me that someone who is a top player gets this problem, and then they're coming right back to it after they get through it, like especially a
I mean,
problem like
he
carpal
cares about
tunnel.
the game, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, like cute. Like shout out to Thunder. Thunder deserves the
Hmm.
love and respect that
He does.
he. It just doesn't seem like, because like I feel like that your average Joe would be like Zoink Trick Pop Off, Tyago Wizkid. Like
I don't think WizKid's that good. I
I
think Tyaga's good, but I don't think he's not he's top 10. I don't know that I'd put him any higher than that.
yeah, Tyago like he seems like an awesome guy, but one thing I've noticed is like it's like a slow burn with him.
Hmm. He's incredibly good and he has the balls to actually play things, but I don't think that he's like super crazy. Well, obviously he is crazy, but like I don't think that he is top 3 or top 5 contention.
Yeah, I would agree. And with Wizkid, he's just good at everything equally. It's not like he's like
Yeah, but he's just
crazy
not
good at something.
super. He's not a very he plays the game a lot.
Yeah.
Um, and that's really what's taken him so far, I think.
Hmm. And like he wasn't he the first codependence? No, he was not the first
He
codependence
might have
developer.
been. And yeah, he has a very
Who's one?
unorthodox, you know, set of tastes for levels, which I think
That's
makes
true.
him one of the most interesting players for sure, but I don't think it puts him in contention to be one of the best.
Honestly, I agree. I think him it's like one of the things that people view him highly as. Like I watched him get like 40 something to 100 on nullscapes and then get like 30% the same day or something like that. And then also his progress on Bubawamba. That's another thing, is like Bubawamba and nullscapes have really twisted how people look at who is actually good at this game now, and it
Why is that?
sucks. And it's because like everyone's, oh, Bubawamba is secret top one, and oh, nullscapes was always harder than tidal wave. Like, is it really though? It's just that it's such a niche skill set, and Wizkid just happens to be
Nobody
good at
wants to play it. Nobody wants to play them.
it.
That's
Yeah,
really what it is.
exactly.
People just it's very possible that Nullscapes is harder than Tidal Wave. I'm not going to say that that's impossible. The
Yeah,
same thing might be true for Booblewamba, although I'm more skeptical. But like, it doesn't really matter. We'll see how they pan out, but I don't feel comfortable making any like right now. I would say I'm not sure if Nullscapes was top one or not. Like
yeah,
if it ends up being above Tidal Wave, I don't think that there's really any way to say because like skill sets change, all that stuff. Um, and I think that changes things a lot more than, people give it credit for.
yeah. And we very well like WizKid said Anathema is harder than Bubawamba so far of what he said or what he's done, and from what
Well,
I
he also said he beat Bubawamba 5 months ago, and he
well
hasn't. So
that
like,
is true. I don't know, and then he's going for nullscapes instead. I don't know what he's doing. I don't know.
mhm.
He gave me shit. I'm not gonna talk about it, but he gave me shit for something. He gave me shit for like a short that we did calling Zoink the unluckiest player. It was obviously a joke short. It was like
Who did he think it should have been?
it was some player. I completely forgot. I tried my hardest to remember the name because I felt bad for instantly forgetting because it just like it just gives into his idea of it being a stigma that it's like popularity contest, but and it is kind of true, and it was some player that like apparently has like 20 verification or is I don't remember. It's like some crazy amount of verifications and like none of them are rated or something. Like
Dude, he just got to pick better levels then.
I mean yeah, like Lord Vadercraft, similar situation, but Lord Vadercraft is actually like seen like he's not.
Lord Vadercraft knows he's playing weird shit though.
Yeah, that is
You
true.
gotta own it if you're playing like that sort of
Yeah,
thing.
I don't know. I'd have to talk to WizKid about it. I'm in private chats with him. Maybe
Yeah,
I'll ask him who that player was, and but I don't know. He could beat Bubawamba. He could beat Nullscapes. I mean, I watched him get crazy ass progress on Nullscapes. I
hmm
just I have this itch with him that I think he's pulling a pop off where he's manipulating these levels to get Anathema a little higher. But I don't know, like I'm not.
maybe.
I don't know. Like
I don't
Buwamba,
think that doesn't seem like something he would do. I think he just honestly believes this.
it doesn't. I agree with that. It doesn't seem like it, but it's just a tiny little itch in my brain that it's like my little overthinking part of my brain that's like, wait, could this just be what's going on? But I don't know. He probably just doesn't want to play Bubawamba anymore, which also gives into more victims just not wanting to play Bubawamba. And
Exactly.
also Zoink said he was gonna do it at the end of this year. So Zoink, it's quarter 4. You got to do it.
Yep, it's true.
um, but with all this talk about top players and hardest levels, um, have you ever had any plans to become a top player?
Yeah, in the past for sure. I just don't think that my motivation works very well with that. I think my skill acquisition, purely judging off of that, if I had infinite motivation, I think there's a very good chance that I could easily, not easily, but there's a very good chance that I could be one of the best players, like in contention for
Mm,
sure. Like I think I could, but it just doesn't really matter because I don't have the motivation for that, and I never really have. I get really motivated for a couple of days, and then I get demotivated for weeks, and that's kind of how I've always played the game. And I don't really see that changing. In fact, I've just been playing the game less recently, you know?
yeah,
So I think I will probably like I don't really see myself ever being a top player again. It's just, not really what I'm about these days.
yeah. And to bank off of that, uh, will like, hmm, I guess this is kind of going back a little bit in the topic of Silent Club Step, but
Mhm.
have you planned on attempting a new hardest?
Um, at some point maybe, but not right now.
Okay.
Um, yeah, not right now.
Alrighty. Um. All right. So this next question, I didn't type this on here, but before we called, I thought of a really funny short, and all I need you to do is just say the word no.
Okay. Like right now?
Yeah.
No.
Thank you. I will show you it before we upload it. It's gonna be. I promise it's gonna be a funny short.
Sure.
um. Hmm. All right. I'm being stupid and indecisive, so usually at the end of these, ooh, we have 4 questions left, by the way.
Okay.
Um, at the end of these, sometimes I ask people like this number, this number, this number, or this number, because I number them and I don't ask the questions in order.
Yeah, totally.
So I'm gonna mention 4 numbers, and I'm gonna have you pick which one, and I'll ask you that question.
All right.
So 5, 7, 12, or 13.
Let's do 12.
What is your biggest regret in your GD career?
Uh, um, Let me think about that for a second. I think my biggest regret is probably not capitalizing on the momentum I had right when I first started making progress in Silent Pubstep. Um, that was a period of my life where I think my mental health stuff got a lot worse, and I became a lot less motivated to kind of do anything at all. But I think I was definitely on pace to, other than space, to become probably a top 3 player. And I just kind of fell flat, that was when I became the first victor of Arcturus. I was the first victor of Promethean, first victor of Akashic Records. I beat Crimson Planet, Seri Never Clear when they were top 10. I did a
Hmm.
bunch of cool things, and I just never really like capitalized off of that or like tried to do anything cool or interesting um, outside of just like playing the game whenever I had motivation. So that would probably you know, be my answer. I think I could have had a much more fulfilling and memorable career as far as playing stuff goes. And I'm kind of disappointed that I didn't really pursue that further when I had the time and the ability to.
Hmm. Okay. All right. 5, 7, or 13.
Let's do 13.
Alrighty. How long do you think until we reach the human limit?
Okay. This is something I actually have a very well-formed viewpoint for. Um, I think that here's the way that I see it. We are very far from the human limit right now. Just like, well, no, okay. I think we're very far from the human limit. The human limit will be reached whenever we have players who are playing the game from like as soon as they are able to realistically start playing the game, like a super young age, up until the point where biologically they are no like they are past their cognitive peak. So we are decades out from actually hitting the human limit, I think. Because like think about it like this, right? Why would we not be able to continue to improve until we reach our cognitive like biological peak? To me, it seems like the reason why we see like ratings in chess, for instance, sort of plateau is because people now all the best players start playing when they're 4. They get really, really good and they play fucking, 10 hours a day until they're 30 years old. And then all of a sudden they now have, 2,900 ELO. Um, and the thing about GD is that that hasn't really had the opportunity to like happen. People are not very serious about how they play the game. I think that people have good practice for like how they should actually be like learning levels and things like that. But people could take it a lot further in terms of like diet and, making sure that you're good on sleep scheduling. And
Yeah.
hell, the fact that people are keeping a job or, going to school while playing in the first place sort of lends credence to the fact that there's a lot of improvements that could be made. So I think that we'll start to see, and this is assuming that and this is a big if. This is if GD stays around long enough and popular long enough for this to be the case, which I don't think it will. I think that we'll see people hit the human limit if they start playing GD when they're really young. They obviously have clear potential to be extremely good. So they start to improve rapidly, and then they continue to play until they're like 25 or 30. I think that's when we would see the human limit of the game. And we are a very far away from that, which is to say that I think we are very far away from hitting the human limit.
Hmm. That's actually a very interesting answer. It's usually everyone would pinpoint some sort of level.
No, I don't think that I have absolutely no idea what level would constitute like the human limit, but it's kind of like in my opinion, the human limit, if I had to put it in terms of levels, is whichever level someone would be able, whatever level would be like the absolute peak of what someone is able to beat if they start playing if Zoink starts playing when he's 5, keeps playing for 5 hours a day until he's 25. What level is he capable of beating by the end of that? That is the human limit, in my opinion.
Damn. Okay. Yeah, I actually like that answer. Is
I think it's yeah, like there's definitely something to be said about like, oh, it's luck based and stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, that's kind of true to an extent, but people thought that Slaughterhouse was luck based, and then someone beat it 3 times in a row. People thought that fucking I remember distinctly seeing a C1997 video when Erebus came out. That was like, this is the future of hard level. Or not Erebus, Yada, that like this is the future of hard levels. They have to be long because we can't make gameplay that much harder when we obviously could. So I think there's a lot of headway that can still be made even now when it comes to making gameplay more difficult. And I think we are quite a ways away from getting to the point where things cannot continue to increment further and further. And I don't think that any of us will see it in the time that we continue to play the game. I think it will probably happen decades out if it happens at all.
hmm. Yo, I'm gonna prove you wrong. I'm gonna play this game when I'm 70 years old.
Nice.
But now 2 questions left.
Let's do
Five.
7.
Okay, it's cool that you remembered.
Hmm.
um, when do you think Flame Wall will be placed, and where do you think it will place?
Okay, well, when it will be placed, the Demon List has a specific policy for when we place levels. It's gonna place on October 24th.
Ooh.
Um, so you can no, you can just go into the daemon list server. If you go to pending list changes, it's like all list worthy levels will be placed 1 month after they were rated or updated, whichever comes last. So Flame Wall was rated on September 24th, which means it will get placed exactly 1 month afterwards. As for where I think it'll place, let me look at the daemon list right now. Let's see, Tidal Wave is 3. I'm gonna say I could see either 3 or 4. Um, so either one above or one below tidal wave. I don't think it's top one. I definitely don't think it's top one. I top two and top one are not super far apart right now, so I don't think it's that either. Um, I think that tidal wave is a step below those two levels,
Mm-hmm.
so I could see it going either way there. I would want to see somebody who has experience with these really hard levels, like the ones in the top like 3 to 5. I'd like to see them try it before I say anything super confidently, but I think it will place either one above or one below tidal wave.
I fully agree. This is what I've said. It's going to be placed at number 3 as a placeholder for the time being until we get a full grasp of its difficulty.
Yep, I agree.
And it was like the same thing with Bubawamba. It was just shot up to 3 so we could get someone to try to beat it. But Flame Wall is actually a level that people want to play, so we'll know.
No, Boomawamba got placed at 3 because Tyago said that it should probably place around there.
Really?
Hmm.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he has really good progress on uh Boomawamba, obviously. He has uh like 70 or something. Like 66 is on YouTube, but I think he has more progress than that. I'm not sure though.
Huh.
Um, but yeah, he said that if I remember correctly, that beating Bubawamba was like as hard as like 85% on Tidal Wave in 2.1. So I was like, okay, let's just place it, one below is it
Nullscapes. It
below
was below
well, yeah,
Nullscapes.
it's below Nullscapes. And then we just didn't know about Nullscapes, so we just put it below Nullscapes as well. But it is probably in that tier with Tidal Wave as well.
Okay. And this is the final question.
Yep.
Why did you become a demon list moderator?
Well, I became a Demon List moderator many years ago. Right now I'm like the leader of the list. There are a couple, but like people in the community see me as like the leader of anything Demon List related.
Yeah.
Um, the same used to be true with the challenge list back in the day. So around 2020, when the Dolphy stuff is happening, I realized, wait a minute, I have experience with Ableton, which is like a music program. I could maybe take a look at Dolphy's stuff and see if I can find anything on him. So I made a video about him, being like, I don't think that there's evidence that he's cheating at the moment. Um, so I uploaded that, and that was the first time that like anybody like I really caught anybody's eye in the community. So after that, I became really active in the challengeless server, and I became a server mod eventually.
Hmm.
And then Bo was confessed to hacking VSC, so I just kind of randomly got promoted to owner of the challenge list. And at that point, I kind of knew one or two list mods like um as acquaintances. One was a friend actually. And I was a really immature and annoying person at that point, especially. And I was banned from the Demon List server twice. Um, before getting list help, like within a year of getting list helper. So I, spent like I worked really hard on the challenge list to try to make it as good as I possibly can, and I kept applying for the demon list team over and over and over because I really wanted to be a part of it. It seemed like really cool. So I eventually, I got um one of the people who I was friends with at the time sat me down because I did a fucking okay, me and this one guy, we did like a part of kind of ironic present PowerPoint presentation about why we should be list mods with the list leaders. We just randomly added them into a group chat. This was like in 2020, and we shared our screens and we did a fucking PowerPoint about it. I had like a bar graph of like my list points over time, which was like it was a joke, but also like I did really want it at the time, and so did the other person. Um, so eventually after that, one of the list mods sits me down and is like, "Okay, you need to chill the fuck out. Eventually you'll get it, but you just need to like chill out first." So I chilled out for like 2 months or something like that, and then eventually like everybody was like, "Okay, Paqoe's chill now," and then I got promoted. Or invited to the list team. And then I just kind of, immediately started to do really useful stuff with hack detection, and I became, a big part of discussions and all that. So I
Yeah.
got promoted to mod, and then eventually I kept up doing that sort of thing. So I got promoted to head mod. I got really frustrated because I wasn't getting promoted to leader, even though it was kind of just like a numbers thing. So I stepped down for a while, and people were like, if we could make you leader, but like I wanted to prove a point. So I just resigned for a little bit. And then I rejoined, and then I sort of just like fell upwards again because I wasn't fucking doing anything at that point. Like I think there was a good um 20 something weeks where I didn't check a single record. Uh, which is not what you're supposed to do. But for some reason, I eventually got re-promoted back to head mod, and then I got leader shortly after, and I've just been, doing that ever since.